Welcome to Women Inspired. I'm your host, Linda Ugelow, and on this show I speak with women and a few cool dudes, all of them artists, healers, changemakers, and entrepreneurs, about how they put their dreams into action. And today I have with me as my guest, Karen Lock Kolp.
It's a tricky one.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Please tell us about what you do.
I help parents of young children worry less and enjoy more. And I do that in mainly one way, but I have a couple of different ways now. I have a podcast called We Turned Out Okay. And I've written a book called Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics. And I have a group coaching community for parents of young children.
So the group is called the book is called Positive
Discipline Ninja Tactics. Yeah. Because we always talk about on the show, on the podcast, we talk a lot about how like kids have these evil Jedi mind tricks. And, you know, like it or not, you've got to find a way to deal with them. And we actually talk a lot about how kids don't set out to have evil Jedi mind tricks. It's just a developmental thing. It's how kids are. They don't have the same thinking capabilities. They have very different ways of thinking than adults do. And a lot of adults, parents, you know, don't understand that, and so I try to help them understand it, and then we use the positive discipline ninja tactics to counteract the evil Jedi mind tricks.
Also, I'd love to unpack this a little bit. This is so interesting. You say that children don't set out to be. Well,
they really don't. I mean, I think if you picture sort of the average, I would say middle class parent, especially mom, but of both genders. Parents, you know, maybe they've had a long day of work, maybe you know, there's a lot of demands on adults, right? And kids can't know that. They just don't have the same kind of thinking capacity. And when a child needs something, they need it. They feel like they need it right away, whatever it is, and they will use the means at their disposal to get that. And sometimes that can be whining or, you know, throwing things or trying to do something to get mom or dad's attention. And the parents are like, why are you doing this? And the kids are like, because it's the only thing I know. It's the only way I know.
But they don't have those words to say.
No, exactly. They don't have those words to say. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what's the first step for a parent who is kind of at their wit's end, or they're not sure how to?
Oh, so I'm so glad you asked that question. The whole reasoning behind Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics was it actually started out as a series of podcast episodes, because parents were literally writing to me and they were like, I am at my wit's end. They use your words. And they would say, I don't know how to handle it when she gets in my face and says no, or something like that. I don't know how to handle it when he throws his dinner on the floor, you know? And I would say, all right, well, here are some great little hacks. Here are some things, here are some tools that can help you. And that's really where I like to start, is with like the easy takeaways that you can do like in the moment that can change your whole relationship with your child, really. Things like saying yes when you mean no, because I've recently learned that kids hear the word no 40,000 times before they turn 5. And they only hear yes 5,000 times. So if you
40,000 versus 5,000.
It's a ratio of 8 to 1.
Wow.
8 no's for every yes. And if we can do no is such a shut down kind of word. If we can do anything to make it so that they're hearing yes, I say do it. And you can do it but still mean no. You know, if they say, can I have my dessert? You can say, yep, right after dinner, instead of saying, no, you can't have your dessert. So things like that.
So say yes,
yep,
and find a way to make yes make sense for what it is.
Yeah. Can we go to the park? Yep, tomorrow afternoon we can go to the park. Or right after we're done with grocery shopping, or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that just make life easier. And once life is a little bit easier, you can start to see your child's personality. You can start to appreciate some things about your child that maybe you didn't before.
So you started off saying that people would come to you. How did they know to come to you? What were you doing in your life that people knew that you were someone that they could even ask that?
Really, it was podcasting, and the way it started was I have a master's degree in early childhood education. I have my bachelor's of sciences in child development, human development. And I was a teacher for a really long time, so that's really where I learned these kind of little tricks and tips. And when I guess I was 40, wow, crazy to think, I got a chronic illness. I know this feels like a little bit of a departure, but I promise you I'm coming back. I developed a chronic illness that took away my ability to walk. It's messed with my forearms and my hands and my elbows and my upper arms. And it's a lot better now. But in the worst of the arm stuff, I literally had like 5% use of my arms. And I was I think a very typical kind of at-home mom. We homeschool, but I was running the household, doing the shopping and the cooking and all that kind of stuff. And suddenly I couldn't do those things anymore. And I was going crazy because I didn't know, I felt so burdensome and guilty. And a friend said to me, okay, well, regular parenting is off the table for you right now. You're not driving anybody around. You're not folding laundry. You're not cooking. What can you do with this time? And I was like, I could teach. I mean, I can't teach in a classroom, but I can teach people stuff. And really that was back in 2014, and that's where the kind of the motivation to do something to help people really came from. And by May of 2015, I did start We Turned Out Okay. And people have really found me there, which is very cool,
That's amazing. So you were in a physically disabled place.
Yeah.
And you started a podcast.
Yeah. I thought it doesn't matter if I can't walk, I can talk. I can use my voice. I have a good heart. I have a good mind. These are the attributes that I have that I can put something out in the world with. And people have really responded. It's been very exciting.
And what's so interesting is if that didn't happen to you physically, you probably wouldn't have started that.
Exactly. That is exactly how I feel. I really think the one had to happen so that the other could happen, And it's funny because I would never wish this on anyone. I mean, it's been painful and horrible, but I think human nature is such that sometimes you have to go through something like that to appreciate what you have in your life. And the kids, I've got a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old son, and both of them have repeatedly said that they know so much more about life having helped me through this, really. And my husband has repeatedly said that we would be a very different family. We might be a very different family without it. It's brought us together in some really cool ways.
That's amazing. So. That's really inspiring.
It's my story. It was very hard to go through, and sometimes it still is, but I feel incredibly grateful that I have the people I have and the support I have. I'm lucky.
It makes me think, Karen, that we all have things that we go through all the time, daily, monthly, yearly. Life happens, right? Mm-hmm. And we tend to fight against it. What your story kind of illustrates is that there's something that can be a positive outcome that isn't necessarily apparent.
Yeah.
While you're going through it, but if we can remember that somehow or trust that somehow, even though there is this obstacle here that we have to go around or we're unable to or we don't have time for, there is something of meaning and use, perhaps, there. Especially if we look for it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I never thought I would do this. I never thought I would be a podcaster or have a coaching group or any of the things that have really happened. And when I think about how enriched my life has become, sometimes it's just kind of it's surprising, even to me. It's a little bit shocking,
It's a nice kind of shock, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I want to hear about your coaching practice. So you have you have from the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you.
I have a community.
You have a community.
It's a group. I mean, I think of it as a group coaching community. So parents listen to the podcast, enjoy the podcast, get a lot from it, and then I thought, okay, well, I'll write this book because they can take, you know, what we're learning on the show. I go a little bit more in depth into in the book, and it's written down for people to be able to go back and read, okay, this is how she wants me to do this no into yes thing, or this is how she wants me to do first then, which is another kind of technique. And then I thought, I was getting parents who were like, I really want your advice, you know, personally to me. And I thought, okay, well, there's enough people that want that let's start like a way that I can have some classes that people can go into mine is a forum-based community, so people can ask me questions directly in the forums. We can talk in the forums. I have a single person and me parent coaching call, which I then record, and they go on the pod. They can be episodes of the podcast. So parents are getting help with what they need right away, and then everybody else who listens is getting the benefit of those as well. I mean, it's really, I love the whole, like, it's all such a it's like a virtuous circle, you know what I mean? Where everything feeds upon itself in a really, really cool way.
So you'll do a one-on-one session with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Recorded, yeah.
And they know that when.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think that's part of I actually think people enjoy that. That's part of the, like, value of it is not only, you know, I'm helping them immediately, and a lot of times they'll say, like, I never thought about this at all. I never thought about these ideas, and I can give them a whole different perspective on some real struggle that they're having in their parenting, and then I think they love this too, that anybody who listens gets the benefit of that. And then if they want their particular individual situation, those listeners want that addressed, then they can join the community. I mean, it's really.
I see.
Dovetails.
So these are the people in the community have this kind of access.
Yes, exactly. And that was really what I wanted to do. I mean, you can only talk to so many individual people. I'm sure you see this too, where you know, you want to help everybody, and there's just not a way for you to help everybody. So you set up a way in which you can help, you know, more people individually, and that is also helping people who maybe don't have the same means to join a private community. Not that mine is expensive. It's I think priced really well. I love the idea of a community where you can join for like a monthly rate or an annual rate, and it's not breaking the bank, but it's enough that you're invested, I think, a little bit. You know, mm-hmm. It's easier to listen to something and say, oh, okay, I'll do that, and then kind of never do it. But if you're paying a little bit of money, then you're, I think, more likely to you got some skin in the game, you know what I mean? You're more likely to really follow through with that. So,
mm-hmm.
And I've had really good results with the parents who I've been able to speak to and work with, and it's fun.
So when you had your podcast and then you created the community, has it been like a smooth kind of growth for you?
I think outwardly it's been smooth. Like, first it was the podcast, and then it used to be just once a week. And about 3 or 4 months in, I think, I started doing, every other week I do an episode called a Your Child Explained episode, because a lot of parents don't know what's going on in their kids' heads. So what we do in our Your Child Explained is we look into our kids and see what's going on in there, basically. See why they do the crazy things that they do. And that was a smooth thing that people loved. And then Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics, the series happened, and people loved that. That was record downloads kind of a thing. So then the book happened, and then from that, you know, the community kind of happened. And I would say outwardly it does look very smooth, but of course inside, I mean, it's like when it's being built, you know, there were like just learning how to create something and put it online, you know what I mean? Or build forums and then figure out how to put stuff in them, and videotaping, all of the technical stuff, yeah. And I think I was thinking about this earlier in our conversation, one of the things that made it easier for me to do those to overcome those hurdles is because I've already overcome an awful lot of hurdles. And I'm like, I've come this far. I'm not letting, whatever this little technical thingy is, I'm not letting it stop me. It is not going to stop me.
I think that's a great lesson for people to learn if they're thinking about, becoming an entrepreneur or starting a group, that there are lots of there's a big technical learning curve, yet it's all learnable.
Yeah, yeah. And do you notice this too? You have to start something before you think you're ready. Have you ever?
Well, before you know what's involved.
Before you know what's involved, exactly.
Yes, like this TV show, for example.
You almost have to say to yourself, like, all right, I don't know anything about this. Let's see what happens. And kind of put yourself out there in that way. I mean, there was a lot I did not know about podcasting. And yet, here we are, 150 great sounding, helpful episodes later.
That's great.
And I've been able to talk to every other week I do an interview, a guest interview, so I've had some just fantastic guests, really, really helpful people. I had the then president of the American Academy of Pediatrics on the podcast last fall, and to me that felt like such a milestone. When you can talk to somebody of a national kind of level like that, and now all your listeners are getting the benefit of his ideas and his advice. I mean, I was like, that's pretty cool. So,
I was just listening to someone discuss about being a celebrity. And what does being a celebrity mean? And just the idea of having visibility gives you the opportunity to share more of your ideas, and because it gives you a kind of credibility that people start to listen. So that, let's say you had 100 podcasts already, you had built this community, and then when you had this person on, you were able to share that with so many people. Whereas, let's say you didn't have a podcast, but you met this guy.
Who could I share that with?
Who could you share
right?
it with? Exactly. So people don't realize that it's not just about us. It's about how we can share the wisdom, the information, the inspiration, the motivation from all the other people that we encounter. And we're in a day and age that we have the technology. And I think it's really important for each of us to speak up and share what we can. I'm so glad that you had your epiphany.
My opportunity, right?
Yes, your opportunity.
And I think, when I think about why I do what I do, it's because of the people that I'm helping. I say all the time on the show that, like, they feed my soul just by listening. They really, really do. It's so, gratifying is the wrong word because it makes it sound like it's just gratuitous, you know what I mean? But it is so gratifying and so affirming when I see I had 1,000 downloads in one day last week, which that was something new. And I was like, wow.
That's amazing.
Oftentimes I'll come close, but I haven't seen that, and it's just like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic. That's 1,000 people that I got to help that day.
That's right. That's right. So what are some of the things that you hear from people that have been helped?
Oh, that they'll say things like, I never thought of that. What a cool idea. And then they'll come back to me and they'll say, so I made this chart, or I made this thing that you recommended, and it's really, really working well. And I'm happier in my life now. I'm happier with my kids. Like a lot of my listeners are of the worried and hovering variety, which is exactly how I was. When my kids were small, oh my God, I wouldn't let them climb stairs, especially my firstborn. I would not let him climb up the stairs because I was afraid, like, what if he falls? Well, there's only one way to learn how to climb stairs, and that's to climb stairs. And so a lot of my listeners are in that mode of like, oh God, they can't do anything. We need to make everything perfect for them, and they'll never fall, and they'll never get hurt, and they'll never be upset. And increasingly, I'm coming to see almost in the opposite sense. We need to keep them safe from things like oncoming cars and big, bleach and stuff like that. But we need to let them fall down because that's how you learn to get back up. So parents get in touch with me to say, I worry a lot less. I understand why they do what they do, and just thank you, really.
So more harmony at home, more enjoyment in the family.
Yeah. And I don't know that you could ask for much more.
I know, that's bliss.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, and I won't remember who it's from, is it's the ultimate ambition of all, something like the ultimate ambition of all life is to be happy at home, or to be harmonious at home, something like that. And I love that. That's exactly how I feel. So, and with teens, sometimes that's not easy because I now have a teen and a tween. So, but for the most part, it's still good.
And you have this foundation.
Yeah, we are a lucky foursome, I think. I mean, in that, like, we enjoy each other's company. We talk about a lot of big, hairy things, and they understand that they can disagree with us, and that we are going to support them, and that they really matter to us. Did you ever watch The Breakfast Club?
No.
Okay, so for viewers who have, it's there's a part in The Breakfast Club which is about, I think, 5 teenagers who they have to serve a full day's detention on their own, and one of them says to another at one point, "What do your parents do that's like so bad?" And she says, "They ignore me," and he says, "So do mine." And it's like, I remember watching that with my husband a couple of years ago, and we said, we don't want to ignore them. That would not be good. So whatever that means, because those parents didn't look like they were ignoring their kids, but they were.
Yeah. And also the benefit of being in these years is that you get fresh experience that you can experiment and explore.
Yeah.
And then you have all of that to share with your community.
Yes, but I will say this. I do try to run things by the boys before I tell something about them on the show. This is something that's become increasingly, it's kind of come up in our lives. A couple of years ago, my youngest was walking by, and I was like, oh, look what I just reposted on Facebook. And it was a video of him at 3 imitating Gandalf the Grey with a staff. And I was like, isn't that cute? And he was like 9 at the time, and he said, Mom, please don't ever repost that. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, I won't. And ever since then, I really try to say to them, listen, is it okay? I mean, and they've okayed things that I would never have thought. Like, it's okay for me to tell a story about bribing one of them with a donut to potty train. You know what I mean? It's like the things that they have, right? The things that they have okayed sometimes blow my mind. But I think it's the courtesy of being asked, and they know they can say no, and I will find a way if they say no. So
it's respectful.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
I am just getting into, of all things, video, actually. I've dabbled in it for course modules for within the community, and I've just started a series, I'm just getting it going now, a series on YouTube called Parents Time Out, which are very short, like 3-minute or less little takeaways that parents can watch, and then they have like a little thing to try, and they always reference what's going to be on the podcast that week, so they can, if they want more, they can listen to the episode. So I'm moving in a video type direction, which is different for me. It's a little daunting, but I'm getting there. That's great. That's great. A new adventure. A new adventure, exactly. That's wonderful. Well, one of the things I love to do is have my guests pick a card from this box and riff on it however it fits in your work. Okay, I would love to. All right, let me. Okay, intuition is my card. And I think that intuition is a really good guide. Certainly in my life, intuition is a really good guide. And I've read a little bit about it because to me it feels very woo-woo, this idea that like from nowhere you'll get, oh my gosh, there it is, the inspiration. And I wanted to find out kind of more about it. And what I've read and sort of listened to has led me to believe that intuition is your subconscious noticing things that you don't consciously notice. And then enough of them happen that you're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to get in the elevator with that guy. Or I'm going to go that way and see what happens when I go that way. And what I find that my intuition has done so far is it's led me in really, really good directions.
Can you give an example?
So from a very long time ago, I was invited to go to a graduation party for a friend when I was 24. And it was a weekend-long graduation party at his dad's house on their lake. Everybody was bringing tents. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. And my mother called the next day to say, hey, your grandfather is turning 80, and we're all going to up to Montreal for his birthday. And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. And my mother was so angry with me because I didn't. I said, listen, I've made other plans. I can't do this. I'm 24 years old. I love my grandfather, but I'm asserting myself. And I went to that, and I met my husband. I went to the graduation party, and I met my husband. And I came home. We spent the whole weekend together. When we left, I knew as soon as I shook his hand that he was my man. And I went home. I remember going home, and I called my mom, and she said, "Sal, how was the party?" And I said, "I've met the man I'm going to marry. His name is Ben Kolp. You'd better get used to it." And she was like, "Okay." And that was, I mean, if I hadn't gone to that, if I hadn't obeyed that intuition, what would have happened?
That's a great story.
Thank you. It's been I've been a very lucky lady with that, so.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. So how can people find you?
People could go to my website, which is WeTurnedOutOK.com, and they'll find all the podcast episodes there. They can go to YouTube and search probably Parents Timeout, I would suggest, or probably Parents Timeout. There's like a channel, but I'm literally just learning how to do that.
So the best place is to your website?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And you mentioned to me that you have something to give away to people?
I do. I want to make available for listeners, and I have made available for viewers, my book. I've written an ebook. It's Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics, and if you've got any interest in reading more about my story, or if you have any interest in like the kind of parent hacks that can help with parenting, it's at WeTurnedOutOK.com/PDNT for the first 4 letters of the book. So WeTurnedOutOK.com/PDNT for Positive Discipline Ninja Tactics is
okay, and we'll
where that's
have
available.
that in the show notes on my website.
Oh, excellent.
And on the YouTube channel.
Cool.
All right.
Cool, yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on, Karen. This was so much fun to hear about the work that you do, and I know there are going to be so many happier families because of it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Thanks for coming on Women Inspired. If you enjoyed the episode, please tune in to the next one.
Change